My husband is going to be either pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised when he gets home. I overheard him last night on the phone with his friend saying, "I just really miss my mom's biryani, you know?" Then he went quiet and said, "But we can't get the ingredients here, so whatever." That whatever broke something in me. We're both first-gen Indian Americans, and since we got married last year, we've been living off chicken and rice because the nearest Indian grocery store is 2 hours away. I didn't realize how much he missed home until I heard his voice crack talking to his friend, so I made a plan. I set my alarm for 4:30 this morning while he was still asleep. I grabbed the grocery list his mom texted me at midnight after I called her crying, and I just drove. The GPS said 2 hours and 12 minutes one way. The store opened at 7. I got there at 6:45 and sat in the parking lot watching the sun come up, trying not to think about how I've never made biryani in my entire life. My hands were shaking when I grabbed my coffee. When the doors finally opened, I walked in and immediately felt lost. The store was huge and everything was labeled in 3 different languages. I called his mom from aisle 3, standing there with my list, and she walked me through finding every single ingredient. Basmati rice, check. Saffron, $40 for a container smaller than my thumb. Ghee, got it. Cardamom pods that I had to count out myself. The spices alone cost me $87. I stood at checkout watching the total climb. $120, $150, $180. The cashier asked if I was catering an event, and I just laughed and said something like that. I loaded everything into the trunk and drove home, checking my phone every 5 minutes, terrified he'd wake up early and text me asking where I was. I got back at 10:30. I sat in the driveway for 3 minutes just breathing. Then I checked through the bedroom door and he was still asleep, so I hauled 6 grocery bags into the kitchen as quietly as humanly possible. Every plastic bag sounded like a firecracker. I hid everything in the cabinet we never used, the one above the fridge. Then I called his best friend Griffin and begged him to take my husband out for the day. "I need at least 6 hours," I said. Griffin asked why, and I just said, "Trust me, I'll explain later." He showed up at noon and they left to go to some car show 2 towns over. The second the door closed, I pulled out every pot we owned. His mom stayed on FaceTime with me for the first hour, walking me through the marination process. "More yogurt," she kept saying. "No, more. You need at least 2 cups. Trust me, I've been making this for 35 years. I started cooking at 1 p.m. The recipe said medium heat, but our stove runs hot and I didn't adjust. The first batch burned because I had the heat too high and I panicked when I smelled it. I dumped the entire pot in the sink and watched $60 worth of chicken and spices go down the drain. The second batch looked promising until I realized the rice was mushy, completely overcooked. I'd left it on for 3 minutes too long while I was answering his mom's call and the whole thing was ruined. Another $40 wasted. I sat on the kitchen floor at 4 p.m. and just stared at the ceiling for 10 minutes. I'd been cooking for 3 hours straight and I had nothing to show for it except 2 pots of wasted food and turmeric stains on literally every dish towel we owned. My hands smelled like garam masala. There was rice stuck to my shirt. My back hurt from standing. I wanted to give up and just order takeout, but then I remembered his voice last night. That sad whatever, like he'd accepted he'd never have it again. So I got up and I started batch number 3. This time I set timers for everything. Bone timer, oven timer, even the microwave timer as backup. I watched that pot like my life depended on it. I checked the rice every 90 seconds with a fork. I followed his mom's instructions exactly, measuring everything twice, using actual measuring cups instead of eyeballing it. At 6:15, the rice was perfect. The chicken was tender and falling off the bone. The saffron had turned everything this gorgeous golden color, and the whole house smelled exactly like his childhood home, like his mom's kitchen on Diwali. I plated everything in our nicest serving dish and covered it with oil to keep it warm. Griffin just texted me. They're 20 minutes away. I'm standing in our kitchen right now, surrounded by every dirty pot and pan we own. There's spices all over the counter. I have turmeric under my fingernails that won't come out. I used $40 worth of saffron in one dish, and I'm still not sure I used enough. But the biryani looks incredible. It smells perfect. And in 20 minutes, my husband is going to walk through that door and smell his mom's cooking for the first time in over a year. I'm terrified this won't taste right. I'm terrified he'll take one bite and know it's wrong. But I'm also hoping that even if it's not perfect, he'll understand that I woke up before sunrise and drove 4 hours and spent 7 hours cooking because I love him. The garage door just opened. He's home.